Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 15 of Parenting Autism. Chris and I are happy to be with you today, and we thought we would discuss some of our most
challenging things that have to do with autism.
Thank you. I was trying to find the right adjective to describe challenges.
But we need to do a disclaimer. Last night was a rough night with Bryce. He was up around 3 a.m. vomiting until about 6:30 a.m. So he's currently taking a nap, and he could wake up at any moment and barge in. So just so everybody knows that.
Yes, and he is feeling better, but I wish we could all take a nap, but he's taking one now.
We could all take a nap, but he must have been a stomach virus or something he ate.
But having said that, while he's sleeping, we thought we'd try to squeeze in this podcast that we've had on the list all week. And yeah, I wanted to talk to you. I'm talking to you now instead of the audience, but I thought it would be great if we could kind of talk in depth about our challenges. And again, this isn't for every family, because I'm sure every family has their own top 5, and some may be similar. Well, but this is kind of like what you and I struggle with the most, either presently or in the past. I think all of these are fairly present.
Yeah, like they say, if you meet one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. So each family has challenges, and I think some challenges are common between families, and some people may find that in our conversation today.
Yeah, and I actually think some families may relate to these parenting challenges, even if you have neurotypical children. But some of these are going to be really exclusive to autism in our experience. But what do we know? Because we don't parent a neurotypical child. But we're just here to share the Chris and Sandy story with Bryce, and hopefully those who are listening may get something out of it. That's what we're kind of here for, besides my therapy. So yeah, I thought we would start with probably the number one challenge I think that we talk about a lot.
What's number one?
I would say the lack of to have conversation with him, lack of communication in the sense that he can't carry a conversation with us. And it's not like I need him to sit here and go back and forth like you and I are. But I think, when it comes to the critical things of how his day was at school, or, how he's feeling, which he's learning to tell us that.
It's like we can ask him a question, and we can really only give him yes or no questions at this point, because he really doesn't elaborate. And when we do get an answer, then he just kind of goes back in his own world and doesn't elaborate or doesn't follow up with anything unless we ask more questions, and then we may or may not get an answer.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, we wish we could talk with him more about things. Sometimes it's so we would know why he's doing something he's doing, which would be very, very helpful. Sometimes it's just we want to know what he's thinking, because maybe he's happy, but he can't even express to us how happy he is. I mean, we just took him to the Magic Kingdom at Disney,
and that'll be another
this past
episode.
week,
yeah.
Which will be another episode. But my point I'm not going to go into the details of that right now. My point being, we came home and we know he enjoyed it.
Yes,
we know he did. But he's not talking about it. It's very little that he's talked to us about it. And if we even try to prompt him with something, he doesn't even really follow the prompt. And I was like, well, I wonder, Mom's like, how did he do at Disney? I'm like, well, we'll see how much he tells you, and it's just, we know there are things that he's enjoying, but it would be nice if we could know what he loved best, or what he really thought about something, or what scared him most, or what he loved most. Being able to share his emotions with us, his feelings with us, other than the, obviously, scared when he hears loud sounds, he can cover his ears.
Yeah, right now it's like cues. All we can get is, did you like that roller coaster? Yes.
Do you want to do it again? No.
No. Okay. Why?
Yeah, you get nothing more than that. And like I said, I know he was excited about things. That's just a small, recent example. But it can be frustrating at times. But I think it's more because we engage with children all the time in other situations. Children of our friends or children at church that are in his classroom, like when we pick him up or drop him off. And, you hear all these little conversations going back between the parents and their kids. And yeah, don't we miss that a little bit? I mean, let's be honest. Wouldn't that be nice to have? He's 5.5. And usually by this time, you're having these cute little conversations with your children back and forth. I mean, when I come in from work after school and I will ask him, How was school today? Hey, bud. Buddy. How are you? Hi. I'm glad you got a nap.
So, I mean, as a side note, we've discussed maybe fostering or adopting other kids. And, once I started thinking about that, I'm like, wow, as much as we would probably like to do that, it would then become really obvious how far behind Bryce was, and
it would make us sad.
And it would make us sad, and I don't want him to get left out or left behind, or I feel like he needs our full attention right now because we need to be the best parents we can for him.
Yeah, that's tough because we talk about him being an only child, and he doesn't have siblings for him to mirror or learn from. And who's he going to have when he grows up if we're gone? I mean, I think that's where a lot of the thought processes come into. And of course, we have a heart for children, but I didn't think we were going down that road. But it's just the communication thing and stuff we talk about. We just kind of miss that. We're missing out on that, and it would be nice to be able to have it. But on the other hand, I'm extremely grateful for how much conversation we do get to have with him, because he is able to tell us a lot of his thoughts, and it's quite comical, and I enjoy it. And, like the other day when we came home, and we have love bugs in Florida that are horrible if you're not from this area, but they literally stick all over your car. It's kind of nasty, and it was love bug season. Yeah, like super glue. And Bryce likes to have a clean car. And when we got home, from our road trip, he says, I'm sorry, but we must go to the car wash instead of the Coulter Hotel. The black truck needs to be clean. I'm sorry, and it was just so cute. And he was having a conversation with us in his way.
Yeah.
He could do a full-on sentence. He was telling us what he was thinking.
We rarely get 3 or 4 sentences like that together.
And it was quite comical. Yeah. I mean, it really was. His whole delivery, how he said it, we convinced him that we could go home and wash them off. But I love when he does that. I love that we're able to hear his voice, because I realize there's a lot of parents who parent autism that don't get to hear their child's voice as much as we do. And I'm extremely grateful for that. So I would never want to come across as if I don't have that gratitude. But I'm also keeping it real that it is sad sometimes that we can't have a typical conversation with him yet. And that's something I think, that we were always looking forward to. We used to talk about that. Oh, we love that age of 4 and 5, and when they're just learning to talk and the things they say, and it's so cute.
We've had a 3-year-old for a couple of years now.
Yeah, as far as the language delays. But anyway, that's something we're working on, and something that is, we're just trying to figure out ways to help him on a daily basis. And, we talked about this too. It's a very, 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 very slow progress system when it comes to autism and language delays. But as long as he's moving forward, and I think I get those reminders thanks to Facebook. I'll get these videos that pop up from a year ago or 2 years ago, and then I can hear the difference of how he talks now versus how he talked then. Mm-hmm. And so it does give me that little reassurance that, hey, we are moving forward. Maybe it's not at the pace that we anticipated when we first found out we were going to be parents. But let's praise God, we are moving forward, and we're grateful for that. But it's definitely one of the larger number one challenges as far as like not just missing that he is having conversational, to be conversational, but trying to find the resources and racking our brain as to what we can do to help him, because sometimes I feel like I just can't do enough, and I don't want to carry that kind of guilt, but yet I also don't want to be lackadaisical about it. So that's a real struggle for me.
Plus, I mean, we think about things that we can try and do, but at some point, Bryce needs a break during the day and needs to be a kid too. So, we got to keep those things in mind. He's in school all day. And then...
to snuggle.
Okay.
Yeah, he wants to snuggle.
Yeah.
You got to let him... He's got to
have
a break.
Well, and I'm not I don't want to be his teacher. He doesn't want me to be his teacher.
Yeah.
I'm not his therapist. Hi. And he doesn't...
It's a ha-ha-ha.
It's a ha-ha book. He doesn't want me to be his therapist.
Right.
But I'm trying to think of ways...
Hi, Snuggle Party.
Okay, honey. Think of ways that we can, in our everyday, natural things that we do, how can we make that an opportunity to teach him? Do you know what I mean?
Or
like have those teaching opportunities. So I think like just doing what we're doing as far as like giving him exposure to conversation. Whether it's you and I talking in the car, you and I talking in the house, because we do talk a lot, which is great for him because he's hearing a regular conversation going back and forth. So even though he may not be seeing or hearing little children in our house, because he doesn't have siblings, we do talk a lot. So I think we help him in that way, and then he gets it at school, and we take him out to public places. We warned you that there might be extra sounds with Bryce in the house. Awake.
And here he comes.
It's okay. Hi, honey. So anyway, that's kind of what I've got to say about all that.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you want to say on that?
You summed it up pretty good.
And that kind of leads to therapies and insurance, which has been another really large challenge for us, for sure, for parenting autism. Yeah. And, just trying to not just get therapies, but get the right therapies that he needs and get the right therapist that he needs, which I have to say we've been really fortunate in that department as far as getting the right therapist.
Up until he was 5, I'd say Bryce had a pretty good schedule of therapies and quality therapies between ABA, speech language, and OT. But after he turned 5, the insurance switched, and so now we're running up against you can only have so many sessions per year, and there's a copay with each session. So he would use up all of his sessions within a few weeks' time with his current insurance company, and then they don't cover ABA, which a lot of insurance companies don't. And the one other insurance company we checked with, they said that ABA was considered experimental, and they weren't covering it either.
That's in the state of Florida, and I know every state's different.
Right, we're in Florida,
but,
so
it's not good here.
maybe different where you are, but we're in the process of trying to figure all that out and get him back with some more speech and language, because we know that's his biggest deficit, and so ABA will help us with some behaviors. So here, I'll help you, buddy. Okay, we'll be right back.
Let's find it.
Okay, so we just had to
get Bryce a little situated there.
Yep,
get him started on his dinner, because he had slept through dinner.
Yes.
And hopefully his little tummy will digest the food well. So we were talking about insurance and therapies and, the challenges that we've had not getting good therapists, but having the insurance and getting all of that in place. And then I was thinking, we had his therapies through the school system, which I'm appreciative that that's available. I just feel like getting 60 minutes a week of each of those, I don't think it's going to bridge the gap that Bryce has. That may be enough for some, but again, we're talking about Bryce, and he's obviously about 2.5 years behind on his language in many ways. So
language is certainly not.
That's not going to cut the mustard.
Right.
And even with the insurance and with them allowing so much, I mean, we could do that. And I am prepared, and I was prepared that if we needed to pony up and pay for that and use those co-pays during the summer while he's not getting anything at all, I just don't know that we would see results fast enough at the sloth pace that it takes to get results, in this type of world. So I feel like we could pay for him to go 2 to 3 times a week for the, 10 to 12 weeks that he's in summer break. Mm-hmm. And I just honestly don't think that we would see the return on that investment that would make us happy.
Yeah.
I don't. I think he needs more than that.
I think there's also a difference between the availability of therapy now, between now and when we first started.
Yeah, that's true.
When we first started, there were a few places to choose from, and I would say that they all had openings. And now just from the autism groups that I'm a part of, I just see that in Florida where we are, it's just harder and harder to get a therapist who's available because the system is tied up with all these kids on the spectrum, and there's more and more and more.
Getting diagnosed all the time.
And there's not enough therapists.
I know. So that's definitely, a big challenge for us, something that we are actively working on and trying to get him placed with a behavior analyst again and try to get that help. I don't know what's going to come of it, but we're constantly trying. And you know what? That's all we can do, babe, is know that we're doing all that we can do.
Yeah.
And
that's part of being an autism parent, a parent of somebody on the spectrum, is feeling like you're doing all that you can. I think that's one of our responsibilities, I feel, for you and I, is to just make sure that we've checked all the boxes on our end to do that for him.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And even though I don't have this on the list, it's probably going to become one of our larger challenges. But I was talking to you earlier this week that, it's just really been weighing on me lately that, am I doing enough for him? I know I can do so much, but what else can we do? And then we were talking about maybe taking him to see a specialist, and maybe it's time for that. And what are they going to tell us to do? Well, the first thing they're going to tell us to do is testing, and also to try the gluten-free, casein-free diet.
Most likely.
100%. I'm quite sure that's what they would say is, have you tried that yet? Okay, did we try that yet? Yes. Did we try it for a long period of time? No. We tried it in the beginning when our heads were still spinning, and, we weren't really seeing a need to do that so much. But a couple months ago, well, actually it was in April, then I'm like, let's just cut dairy out of his diet 100%, and let's see what happens. Let's give it for a month, because I really felt like it was going to help him with his allergies and other things. And it has.
Yeah.
We've seen a tremendous difference in his health. Can't say so much with his language and stuff. That's hard to determine. Right. But I can tell that it's definitely been a positive change for him. Yeah. And we have pretty much started toying with the gluten-free stuff, and trying to introduce him to more meats and more vegetables and more fruits, which he's been really receptive to. So I think we're probably 75. We were about 75% there.
Yeah.
But now we've kind of come together this week and said, nope, let's do it. And
I think we should tell people too that the results that we saw from the dairy removal is that he had acne on his face a lot.
Yeah.
And that was an immediate improvement.
His skin cleared up.
You know, if it's happening on the outside, that it's also happening on the inside. So,
and the sniffles stopped because he was constantly sniffling, and that has stopped 100%. So we know that was a very positive change for him. And then I went ahead and created a tool on Monday that has all, like, the days of the week, the meals, meal 1, 2, and 3, and then other, because there could be a snack. And I really got that designed. I don't even care if we write what's in there, other than if it violates the case, dairy-free, gluten-free, and then what kind of reaction he would have to that, so we can kind of monitor it. And I think we're going to record him as well. And then let's see 6 months from now, are we visually seeing any differences, and are we audibly hearing any differences in him, and even behaviors, because he does have a lot of OCD and repetitive behaviors, a lot of echolalia, where he just, like you heard him say when he came in here, it's a ha-ha book. That's just his random thing he likes to say right now. It's all has to, I think you said there's a ha-ha book at his school. I don't even know what that meant. I thought he meant he had a funny book, but
yeah, I don't know.
That's the kind of stuff he does. We get it. It's autistic behaviors.
He thinks about things that we don't realize he's thinking about.
He just wants to talk to us, and
that's true too.
That's an easy conversation for him. So he wants to communicate. He just doesn't know how to start a conversation. So he'll start it with, "Oh, it's a ha-ha book," or whatever else he's thinking of. But I don't know if removing all the dairy and the gluten from his diet and the wheat, will help him tremendously. But I think we're going to give that a whirl, and we'll definitely report on that.
Before we see the specialist.
I feel like we just have to do these things. So like you said, we know we have diligently done everything. And I know we have like a lot of supplements for him, because we have done testing for him on his blood work and different things, which has been great. But I don't, how you can think that you take your pills or your medicines every day, but unless you have that pill box showing that the pills are leaving it, a lot of adults think that they do what they're supposed to do every day, and they don't. So I went ahead and created a chart that has all 7 of his supplements that he takes. And I put the Monday through Sunday on there. And so we can put a check mark once he gets those, and then we'll know for sure with a visual that we are faithfully giving those to him every day of the week, because I also want to make sure we're doing that so we know we're doing 100% of what we feel we can do to help him. The things we can control. We can't control a lot of things, but those are the things we can control. And I put those as resources on our website as well, the Parenting Autism. What is our website? I'm so sorry.
You caught me off guard.
Sorry.
ParentingAutismShow.com.
Yeah, there you go. So we've got some resources on there, and I added those in there. Okay. So anyway, so that's the insurance and therapies, and kind of like we're talking there.
Going back to that gluten-free, casein-free that we did earlier on, I think we did it for a month and a half, and I did feel like we saw improvement during that time, but sometimes it's hard to know if that's just normal development, where he's speaking more, and then, or is it something that you've done? So
I know. I think if we give it a good, long, hard try and we document some stuff, we'll have a better idea. So I'm kind of excited about that, because I feel like it's time. Like, my head isn't spinning like it was 2 years ago or even a year ago. It's like that can be my big focus now, which will be good. So, kind of rolling from the insurance and the therapies, another thing that we're really having to deal with, I think he might be coming in here, is planning his education and where we're going to place him for school. Hey, baby.
The candle needs it on.
You need the candle on?
Yes.
Did Daddy blow it out?
Oh, no.
Yeah,
oh, no.
I did.
Well, that was good asking, but we can't have the candle on when we're not in the room with you.
Right.
We want to keep you safe. Okay? Can we keep you safe? Okay. Okay, thank you for the snuggles. So, right now we're in the challenge, a big challenge right now, and it has been, is where we're going to put him in school for kindergarten.
It's a ha-ha book.
It is a ha-ha book.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of torn because everybody knows him right now at his elementary school from being in the ESE program. And we've met the therapist there and the ESE coordinator, and they're all very friendly and great. And we feel like his teacher is going to be great there. But it's going to be a regular size kindergarten class
which is 25, right? With one teacher?
With intermittent support in the classroom for him, which is nice. I mean, we got that far. But we're also waiting to find out if we get what's called the Gardner Scholarship here in Florida, which would help us pay for a private school. And we found what seems to be a really nice private Christian school where we live, and the class size is small. So we feel like they'll instill good values in him, and he'll learn a little bit more about Jesus, and he'll have a smaller class size so that they can focus more on him and maybe his deficits. So we're still talking about all of that. And
that's a big discussion.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yes, I definitely don't want to lighten the fact that it's important to me that he learn about Jesus. But I have to say, at this part of the road, I don't know how much he's learning about anything. I want him to be able to just succeed in other things as well and develop. And so it's not the Christian school aspect that so much draws me there. What draws me there is, like you said, the classroom size, because they said they would cap at 15 versus 25.
Yeah.
The downfall there would be that once we go to a private school, then we lose all the support of the government that we do have for his rights, and we also would lose the therapies that he does have in the school, which is better than nothing. But of course, we're trying to get some supports in the school if it's a private school. So it's not an easy decision by any shakes.
We find out whether or not we can get the scholarship, we can kind of move forward with that discussion. But right now, it's still kind
like,
of
again, it's a big challenge, right? And I think it's going to be a challenge every year. And at the end of the day, I want to meet the teachers, because I really believe it's the whole support system from the principal down to the teacher.
And I think
that's
it's
going to make
important
the difference
too, that knowing those people have Christian values, that's important to me.
For sure.
So,
but there's Christians that work in the public school too. So
absolutely,
it's something where we have to just get on that same page.
Yep.
So as you all can tell, this is like part of parenting autism, having to come on the same page and having these kind of discussions. And it's not easy because, at the end of the day, our goal, is to land on a unified decision of what is best for Bryce. Not what I want, not what you want, as much as what we both want is what is going to be the best place for Bryce. And that's not always easy for parents to get to that same decision.
Especially when you're at a crossroads like we are going into kindergarten, the start of
pretty
the whole...
pivotal.
Yeah, it's pivotal.
It is, yes. So it's a big thing we're going through right now, and definitely one of the top 5 challenges that we're dealing with and that we'll continue to deal with. And so I think that one probably leads into, I got 2 left. So we could talk about us and the quality time for us, or we can talk about...
let's talk about that.
Discernment. Yeah, let's go there more with behavior.
So...
It's no.
As probably everybody listening knows, that it's very difficult to get quality time with
stay here and talk.
with your spouse when you have somebody on the spectrum, because it's not as easy to get a babysitter, that one that knows how to
understand him.
Yep. And also one that you can trust, because let's face it, Bryce really can't tell us what goes on when somebody babysits him. So we need to be able to trust that person wholeheartedly. And so that's important. And so we don't get a lot of me and you time.
No, we don't.
And I think
we're trying to do better, but it has been a large challenge for us.
I think that's the norm for a lot of our listeners, too. They don't get the quality time that they need to support their marriages,
No, I find that like who I talk to in my circles and who I listen to on podcasts, most parents who have children on the spectrum will only leave them with family.
Right.
And even family members are limited, and some don't have them nearby. So, it is very rare that they get those opportunities to be together, and that has an impact on the marriage, which throws another challenge. And we've been pretty transparent and open about that on the podcast too, that we're in a class called Re-Engagement through our church, not because we're having marital problems, but simply because it could help, we get a Tuesday night together while Bryce is in childcare. But not just that. It has been so wonderful for us because it's kind of given us that chance to focus on something else other than Bryce and kind of focusing on us and really the core of our relationship, because we're coming up on 14 years of marriage, and any marriage can kind of... Here, baby.
Water.
Here you go. Any marriage can get into a rut at a certain point, so you have that just typical thing that happens, that you get into routine and you do your thing and I do my thing, and our attention definitely shifts to Bryce, and is Bryce okay? And by the time you give Bryce all that you got, what do you have left for your spouse? That's a problem.
As parents, everybody probably knows too that we can't really go to other kids' birthday parties, and we're kind of homebodies most of the time because of behaviors, and so you're kind of isolated from the outside world.
That's
if you
true.
will.
That's true. It's difficult for us to go out and make plans with other families because, if they don't understand Bryce, it's a challenge in itself.
And most get-togethers have loud atmospheres.
Most of them have loud, people clapping, yelling, laughing loudly.
Loud conversations.
And we can't go there and say, oh, could you turn it down 50% because, it's a little loud for Bryce.
If we wanted to go to a nephew's basketball game or something, the buzzer would just totally thrown.
There's just a lot of things that you factor in that it limits your opportunities to do things.
And you don't learn about some of those things until you're in the situation.
Yeah, until you're in the middle of it. So, it's definitely been a challenge for us to have that quality time. I think this year we made it a goal to spend more time together, and I feel like we are definitely connecting more in many, many ways, which is, I'm so happy about that. And I think this podcast actually is really good for us because it gives us a chance to connect together as well. And even though we're talking about Bryce, it's not all Bryce, because it's really about us too, and looking at each other and having this chance to be here. And
we're able to download what's in our brains.
You know, and I think this has been a great gift to our marriage, and restoring a lot of things that kind of got put to the sideline when this whole diagnosis came. And and we've just been trying to figure out, what can we do for Bryce? What do we do for Bryce? What do we do?
It's like your whole life gets put on hold when you get that diagnosis, and first you freak out, and then your head spins, and then you're confused, and then you're
just busy because you're running him to this therapy,
and then
that
you're tired
therapy,
and exhausted.
And really you're so drained by the end of the day. There's not a lot left to give, and that's the problem. So we're figuring out, hey, let's make sure if we get a date, let's make it early, like a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, not at night, because if we go on a date night, we're both zombies.
We're snoozers.
We're snoozers and losers. Oh my gosh. So anyway, so that has been a challenge, but I feel like it's one that we're really starting to overcome, and I'm excited about that. So that's a good thing. And then I think the last one here it's a big one. It's, it's probably up there with number 1, but I left it at number 5. For me, the discernment for discipline is huge. And what I mean by that is, we have to know when Bryce is doing something or saying something that may strike us as, oh, he shouldn't say or do that in that way or whatever. Do you discipline him? And when I say discipline, that can take different forms. Do you give him a timeout because he does respond to that? Do you spank him? Because we try not to do that ever anymore because, you know, he reacts so strongly to that. It freaks him out. And again, that's even if you just did a tiny pop on his behind. I'm talking like that.
Mentally.
But it totally messes with his mind. So that's off the table completely. The timeout works. But even like when you speak to him, I'm sorry, but you're correcting him or you raise your voice at all or you change the tone, he's extremely sensitive to all that. But when does it need to be done? Because he's being a typical 5-year-old boy, which I'm glad he has those abilities. But when is it something he's doing or saying because of his autism and something that shouldn't be disciplined in the same way as a typical behavior? You
just said what I was thinking. That's the question of the century.
Right.
If you have somebody on the spectrum, is it autism or is he being a stinker?
Right.
So we have to be psychiatrists, psychologists, you know. Like I told you the other day, it's like a combination lock.
You did. That was a good analogy.
You know. And and that's what ABA therapists have helped us with in the past is, you know, we have this behavior and then you always look for the root cause of the behavior. What happened before the behavior? You know, what happened after the behavior? You know, so you try
to understand it. I know that, you know, and I'm not talking about, well, okay, so we can throw one here. So he's chewing his shirts and chewing holes in them. Now, I don't think that's truly typical 5-year-old behavior. I think could be, maybe it's not even purely autism because I know there's kids who maybe have anxiety or something like that, and they may chew on things as well. I've heard that. There's no doubt that it runs rapid in the autism community. So I think it contributes to his autism. Can he control it? To a degree, yes, I think he can because he has the awareness and he sees it. And I mean, like he soaks his shirt and now he's like destroying the collars and biting holes in them. And he knows he can't wear those anymore to school or out in public. He does not like to wear buttons, you know, dress up button shirts. So when I stick him in those as the alternative, he's not happy about it. But, you know, we're explaining to him if you chew your shirts, then you have to wear the ones with buttons. You know, it's difficult just to know how to discipline that. Would I send him a timeout for it?
Well, then you think, well, does he get that concept? You know, hey, if you chew your shirt, we're going to put you in a button shirt. And then
I think he does get that concept.
I think he does too, but he can't tell us really.
No, but I think he gets that enough that he'll say, no buttons. Okay, no chew, you know, like enough that I know he understands that. Can he control it? That's where I'm at. Mm-hmm. Can he truly control it? And it's like you said today, you know, you told him, hey, you know, he wanted to wear a shirt. You're going to do the buttons.
I was going to put him in a button shirt. Right. I said, you've been chewing the collar on your other shirts, so you have to wear a button-up shirt today. And he went into this whole meltdown, and he started like almost shaking, like scared. His lip was quivering.
Because he does not like that.
So I didn't want to push him over the edge with that. And I said, okay. He saw one of his autism shirts in the closet, and he said he wanted to wear the puzzle shirt. I said, okay, well, that one doesn't have buttons. It's a regular T-shirt. So as I'm putting it on him, I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to wear this shirt, you cannot chew on it. I said, if you chew on the shirt, you're going to get a spanking. And so...
Which is a word we have not used in
a long time.
A very long time, so I was surprised.
Yeah, so, I mean, nothing else that we were trying was working. I mean, we tried to put some spice on his collar, and he's like,
so it would taste bad.
Get it off. And he didn't even taste it.
Right, because he's freaked out because it was dirty.
Right, it was dirty. It was something
so that backfired.
On there,
that didn't work.
It was just a spice that would taste bad, not anything hot or anything.
Right.
So he had a cow on that. So we've tried a lot of different things, and we really don't want him to have a chew toy around his neck. We just want him to try to get him out of this phase, because I think it is a phase.
I think it's a phase too.
But the only last card that I had was the spanking card, and I think he took me seriously because...
He did tell me when I came home, because you said, tell mommy what will happen if you chew on your shirt? And he says, spanking. I said, really? Because that was the first I heard of it. And I saw he had a little wet spot, but I haven't seen him really chewing on it. But like you said, he forgot a couple of times because it's a habit for him, for sure. But he was chewing on his fingers.
On his fingers.
And so he needs to be chewing on something. And that's my point is, okay, what can we give him other than a chew toy that will help him with that?
Right.
And because I don't want him chewing on his clothes and chewing holes in them, but he needs to be chewing on something. I don't really want his fingers to be his alternative.
So we're talking about a bandana or something. We'll figure it out.
So that's kind of,
but at least now we know it's like it is a behavior of autism, and he feels the overwhelming urge to do that.
Yeah, so I don't want to quote unquote punish him for that.
Right.
But I want him to understand he cannot continue to destroy his clothes. So it's finding that balance. And
when
again,
I saw
that's
him
the
chewing
discernment.
on his finger today, I'm like, oh. Okay.
You feel sad, right? Because
it's something that he needs to do for comfort, or that feedback that he's getting from using his teeth.
Yeah. And I think another behavior that I've kind of learned with him as well is, like when he gets upset about certain things, if he doesn't want to do them, and he screams that word at the top of his lungs. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't punish him like with a timeout for that now. And I will tell you why. Because I feel like it's almost like he has to get that out of him. Because as soon as he screams it, he's a happy child.
And he's done.
He's done.
Yeah.
It's like one time. If you're saying, okay, it's all right, buddy, we're going to turn everything off now. We're going to go to bed. At the top of his lungs, he screams, bedtime!
Yeah. And that's
and
just
then
once, and
we
done.
leave. We ignore that behavior completely. And we say, well, we're going on into the bedroom. Mm-hmm. We don't react to it at all. We go on into the bedroom. And then within 30 seconds, there he is right behind me. Hi, Mommy. And he's climbing up and hugging on me and stuff. So, A, we don't give it any attention, which helps. And B, I really feel like it's only those trigger words that, upsets him. And then he's over them. But if he's looking at me and he's screaming something at me, like out of defiance, because I've, asked him something else like that. Not one of his triggers, because I pretty much know what those triggers are. And it's usually at bedtime when he's tired. But no, you can tell that, and that's having the discernment and the wisdom of, he's just being sassy and rude right now. Mm-hmm. Talking back, screaming at me like that. And that, he knows will land him in a timeout. And he understands that completely. Although he'll say, no timeouts at the Coulter Hotel, but there are. And, he has to have that. And then I feel like, good, he got it, and it doesn't happen again.
I feel like he has that too when he's playing on his iPad sometimes. I feel like when he yells, it's kind of a release for him.
You mean while he's playing?
While he's playing, yeah.
Yeah, because that's not yelling at us. That's him just doing sounds.
Right. And I feel like he needs to do that sound to get some comfort.
Yep. So we have to try to really tune that out. But then we say to him in a calm voice, all right, buddy, can you just turn, because he tells Google to turn down 50%. So we've told him, can you turn that down 50%? And he'll turn his volume down on his sounds from his mouth by 50%. Because that resonates with him. He gets it.
That's helpful when we're in a restaurant and other
It's even helpful at home
places.
When we're like over it. Because honestly, there are a lot of quirky sounds.
Well, sometimes he'll tell us
that come out of him.
You can't turn down at the Coulter Hotel.
He does say
something like that. Because I think he feels comfortable letting that out here, And
he does.
I don't think I want to quench that. I don't want to squash it.
To squelch it, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I've also heard him say, like, if we say, hey, shh, he'll get, no quiet at the Coulter Hotel. Mm-hmm. Talk at the Coulter Hotel.
Yeah.
So when do we tell him to be quiet and when to... it's not that we want him to necessarily be quiet, so we have to learn to tell him, can you be more quiet? Can you turn it down? Because we're not saying don't talk at all.
And try to explain the situation. We're in a restaurant, you need to, be quieter or turn down 20%, because we're in a restaurant or we're in a doctor's office. So, for instance, when I went to the ENT, a few weeks ago, the nurse said he's going to have to turn off his iPad when the doctor comes in, because the doctor is, he does not like it when somebody, it's distracting to him. So the nurse laughed, and I explained to him, I said, Bryce, you're going to have to turn the iPad off when the doctor comes in. And, I had a few minutes, so we talked about it. Well, I talked about it. He really didn't talk about it.
He's listening.
But he was listening. Right. And then when the doctor came in, I said, remember when the doctor comes in? And then he turned it right off, and he was such a good boy, and he was just listening to the doctor.
And that's it. He is great when we can tell him things in advance, give him time to process it, and say it in just a calm, firm voice. He's very responsive. Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. But it's definitely, it's a challenge to know when it's the right time to discipline him and when it's not. Because, again, he is a typical 5-year-old boy in many ways. And we want him to be a typical 5-year-old boy in many ways. But we also can't let him get by with behaviors because, thank God he's doing that. No. Right. There are lines where, no, he can't. And that's something he can control and something he needs to control. I don't know where he picked up this. You do that right now. And he, when he tells us that, I laugh at it sometimes because it kind of cracks me up. But then when he gets that really harsh tone with us, because we don't use that with him, I had to really correct him.
He's picked
firmly.
That up from school somewhere.
Somewhere he has heard that and picked that up from.
You do that right now.
I said he must have a bossy classmate that says, you do that right now. But he says it like really, like if his iPad dies, then he'll be like, oh no, plug it in. You plug it in right now. It's like, dude. So the other night when he gave me one of those right nows, I just calmly but firmly said to him, you do not talk to mommy that way. Mommy and daddy, we do not talk to you that way, and you will not yell at us that way. And we're not going to do anything for you unless you ask us nicely. And you do know how to ask us nicely. There was a lot of silence in the back seat. He really processed that. And then it was several minutes later was, plug in iPad, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, you asked me nicely. So it's really just, when do we use the firm tone with him? Because he's sensitive. So there's no doubt if you raise your voice even at all with him, he freaks.
One other tip that we learned is to get on their level when you're talking seriously to them.
Eye level?
Eye level. It really helps them focus on you and understand what you're saying. So just keep that in mind. If there's a point that you really need to get across to your child, that if you get down on your knees or you're eye level with them and you can get them to look at you, it's very helpful.
And, I'm glad you said that about looking at you, because I don't try to force Bryce to look at me in the eye very often, but occasionally I will say, look at me.
Right.
Look at me. Will. And that's when I really want to drive a point home. And he will he do that long enough. Yeah. But I understand that most of the time he still can't make direct eye contact. He mostly looks off. Yeah. He'll be in the general direction, but the eyes aren't focused in. But, so, that I think is a challenge for all parents. But I think for us, it's definitely one of those top 5. But I do feel like I've gained a lot of wisdom, and I really do pray specifically for discernment and wisdom in that department, because, I want to do what's best for him. I certainly want him to be respectful of authority. I want him to have all those. He can understand that, and it's going to be important for him to understand that the more he goes into the world, because he's not going to live in an inclusive world. He's got to go out into the real world where he has, and he does do great with his teachers, but, he has to learn to listen. He needs to be respectful. If something isn't going his way, he can't demand somebody to do something for him right now. So, just teaching him, and they have disciplined him at school with the timeout chair. That's where we knew it worked, because he confessed about the blue chair. And we're like, the blue chair, tell us more, and he knows that means, he calls it his safe space or the blue chair. But if you get that, you did misbehave, and you need to learn not to make those red choices. And so, we've piggybacked on that, and that has worked really well here at the Coulter Hotel. But, I think all of that is a day-to-day learning process. And that's because things change. I mean, each behavior, they come and they go. And I have heard that some will go away. You think they're gone forever, and then they come back later. So it's a constant change of what we're dealing with on a daily basis. But, I think the key for us is what we're doing now, communicating about it, talking about it, getting on the same page, knowing what our end goals are for Bryce, and then letting each decision that we make, is it pointing to the unified goal? Because we may get there in different directions, but at the end of the day, we want the same thing for Bryce. We want him to progress. Even if it's at a slow speed, we want him to continue to progress every day. We want him to be healthy, and we want him to be happy, and we want him to live a fulfilling life. I think those are goals. Do you have other goals that come to your mind for him that we're working together for?
I think you hit it on the head.
Yeah. So, as long as we do that.
We just want to do the best for him that we can.
That's it. So, anyway, I'm glad we had a chance to talk about those today. And hopefully, for you listeners out there, thanks for tuning in, first of all. And we hope that you do find something.
We'll be doing the episode on Disney coming up, and there's a lot of good tips in that one as well. So
yeah, we do have some.
I'm looking forward to doing that one.
Some tips there, and we appreciate you coming. If this is your first time, we welcome you, and if you've come back from other episodes, we just want to thank you for that. We really do appreciate it, and we just hope that by doing this, if we can help one person from each episode, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, and if you see the titles of our episodes, if you see somebody in a forum or one of your friends has kids on the spectrum and you can point them to one of those episodes that might help them, that's awesome too.
Yep, we sure do appreciate it.
All right, that's it for this round.
Okay, and we'll talk to you again soon.
See ya.
Bye.